Good morning, everyone. So great to quote see everyone here today. I just want to make sure you know that we are recording this morning because there's a lot of people that are going to be watching the replay. And I just want to welcome everybody here. And I'm really excited for today's webinar. You may know me from other parts of my life, but I'm Madeline, and I want to make sure that everybody can hear me okay. That the audio is, if you want to just give me a thumbs up that we're all working and clear and coming through. Great. Thank you. Okay, so I'm a couple of minutes. I'm usually pretty prompt about starting and ending on time, but as I sat down here this morning, I never start anything without doing at least 2 or 3 deeper, fuller breaths and just getting into the space with all the women that are here right now or will be present with me later through the replay to really look at the grander vision of why we have joined here this morning. So each one of you has saw this somewhere and gravitated to join us this morning, to join together. And before we dive right in, I want you to just connect in with yourself. Before I go into any details, just see maybe with your 2 or 3 deeper breaths, just see what is here for you. And that is always going to be the starting point. And we're going to find out today as we move through this together why that has pretty much, for many of us, most of our lives, not been the starting point. So let's start right now. Just see what's here for you. Just see, what you're excited about, maybe what you're worried about, any emotions that are here for you right now. Because here, all parts of you are welcome. So, as we go through today's class, you can interact with me on the chat. So, I hope you've all navigated to the chat box, a little bubble at the bottom. Feel free to pop in comments or questions or anything as we move along today. So, Cindy, I see you've got a raised hand. I just want to check in with you. Sometimes we press that button by accident, but if there's anything, if you want to pop it in the chat before we get going. Yeah, I pretty much know when hands go up that that's an easy mistake to make. All right. So I struggle with fighting my own inner perfectionist, and I was going to just jump on here today and talk about this subject of mastery, magic, and miracles at midlife and beyond. And even as I'm saying that, I kind of get a bit of a charge because this is what I am most passionate about teaching, this right here. And I suddenly thought to myself this morning, you know what, Madeline, you know yourself that you're going to have to quickly create a PowerPoint to keep me online on time to get through what we want to get through today without going off on, a tangent or getting caught up in one of the slides. So, or in one of the subjects. So I have created a short PowerPoint to keep me in line, shall we say, and also keep us on time because I value your presence and I value you coming here today. So I'm going to share my screen. And if you've got your view on, you could probably still see me if you can change your view if you want to see a face as I'm talking. So I work in a number of different areas, from chronic pain to trauma to depression. And But this subject right here, as I said, is really the one that excites me the most. And I'll tell you a little bit about my own story because that's usually where it tends to come from. And I really like this quote: "A rose blooms exactly when she is ready, and not a moment too soon." And it's from a song. I can't recall the name of the song, but it really struck me that there's so much pressure out there and so many myths about a woman growing older that are only constructed because of the society that we live in. And we, as women in our midlife or beyond, and I'm just going to say midlife because I don't know what beyond really means. So let's just say midlife. We are the ones that can kind of turn this on its head. We can actually, and wait, it's happening already. And we can use this year because things are moving quickly to actually turn a lot of this on its head. So I'm going to give you some some background and then some ways to move forward through this because I'm assuming that you are here to learn, how do I do this, how do I harness my own magic, and how do I become the master or leader of my own life. Just see how that lands in your body. The leader of my own life. So we can start right now in this very moment. And this is what also I was doing as I was getting ready. Right now, wherever you are in your space, in your home, or wherever you happen to be, how can you make those little choices to find 10% more pleasure? It's available to you right now. Is it lighting a candle? Is it having a drink of water? Is it making yourself a little bit more comfortable in your posture? Is it putting your phone aside? What does that feel like for you? Is it having some sunshine come in your room? Or is it, as I just did, is it having a cup of tea to answer the call of your body and your nervous system? So it might seem like this is a very small gesture. But as we're going to find out, that you reclaiming your pleasure and your desire in this moment not only gives a signal to your nervous system that often a lot of us were ramped up for lots of good reasons, but it answers the call of your nervous system to say, I'm looking after you. And this body that I'm here in here right now is actually safe. Because if I wasn't safe, I wouldn't be pausing to take a cup of tea, to drink a cup of tea or to look out the window. I wouldn't be doing that. And what we have downloaded is often a lot of fear that makes our nervous system not feel safe. So let's start that right now. The other thing is always checking your breathing, coming back to a long, slow inhale and exhale. Right now, allowing your shoulders and your jaw just to relax, just for the next hour. And with that, we move into a different part of our brain and we open up. We open up, we expand to what you are here to receive. And what a beautiful thing that is. So, as I said, all parts of you are welcome right here. Okay. And the reason I start with that is that how many of us show up in different places or different scenarios or work or social situations and only show certain parts of ourselves? We put that part away. We might put the messy part away, or somebody's coming over to visit and we quickly clean up the house depending on who it is. Or uh yeah, or we put um the angry part of us away. We put the fearful part of us away. So allow yourself in this time to just be open to all parts of yourself as much as feels possible and safe for you today. Because how we have locked things away, I will tell you, it's been for good reason, but we've caused ourselves a lot of tension. And when I say we've caused ourselves, I want to just put a caveat on that is that we have learned very well how to do that. So, connecting in, maybe in your journal, what drew you here this morning, and what part of you, what is what is the part of you yearning for? And often the part that we are yearning for in our lives is a part that is waiting to be seen and felt and heard and accepted. So I'm jumping right in and we're only on the welcome page. I'm going to have to like limit myself. I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself though, because I think it's important to know where I'm coming from. So see some laughing faces go by. Some of you know me. Um, so I have been a trauma therapist, and I put that in a really broad definition for over 30 years. And just to make a really long story short, um, about 3 years ago, 4 years ago, my family had a kind of an unexpected move. So, for various reasons, we moved to the city of Kelowna. And I moved from the smaller town. I think some of you are from Salmon Arm, which I absolutely loved and had, a good group of friends and the whole thing. And when we arrived here, um, all of a sudden I found myself finding, focused on different things, getting my younger child established in a high school, setting up things, a new community, finding a place to rent, all of those things were now consuming my time. And which was all fine. And those part of it was very exciting. But shortly after that, COVID came along. And so now I'm in a new place where I don't know anyone. And I no longer have my private practice. That was just a very busy private practice. And I found myself with a lot more space and time in my life and less social because you know how it was in March of 2020, was it? Where everything basically shut down overnight. And so, in that time and space, there was a part of me, as you may have found as well, that was kind of panicky. Like, what am I going to do? Like, what am I was so, from years and years of being revved up, of being on guard, of being so used to the struggle and so used to go, 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 that I found myself just back into my own body, into my own nervous system. And what I found there was actually surprising as the days went on, and I kept thinking, geez, I'm looking for a job and I can't find a job because there's no job, on and on. And what I found over time, and I needed that time, I needed it to be forced on me. And I want to save you time. I don't want this to happen to you, or it may have happened already. I found I was exhausted. I was depleted. And as I allowed my body to kind of sink in and accept the present situation as it was, I started doing some work online with a chronic pain clinic that was interesting to me. And I was still panicking and struggling outside of that to find something else. And then one day, and I remember this moment very clearly, as it was like a light bulb went off that said, what if this was okay? What if you didn't have to keep struggling? What if you allowed this to be as it is? And, there were so many parts of me that were like, you can't do that. You're not allowed. Those parts of you, those voices that say, can't be easy. You got to struggle. You got to work hard. You got to do these things. But I remember going, oh, And it was that moment, it was that day that I went and I napped. And there's nobody in the house. I napped for 4 hours straight. I had not done that probably since I was a kid. And that began for me a different journey. I started just doing, and this, I'll tell you guys a secret because you might see me online, but this lasted about 3 years. And I was fortunate that I had some online work. I could get to my computer. I could still show up, and I really enjoyed those classes that I was teaching. In between that, I had to go rest, and I realized I was severely burned out. And so my nervous system had said, "Ah, here's the opportunity. Let's just make her rest." And I began to see that as I was working with people online, that the women I was talking to, um, were experiencing the same things, but it was showing up in different ways. Anxiety, not enoughness, chronic pain, illness. And they knew intuitively that there was something else going on. Yeah. So they knew that, and they started showing up to different parts of different classes I was teaching. And I realized I was onto something when I saw that there was a lot of research about this already. So let's move on and let's see what we can do from there. I want to say it's not like a highly unusual story from what I started to gather, that burnout shows up in different ways. And most often, fatigue, worry, um, that feeling of not being good enough, not being good enough. I'm not exactly where I should be. How many of you feel that way right now in your life? I'm not where I should. And I'm going to use quotes there for a moment. I'm not where I should be. Yeah, where I should be. And then the other voice comes in, well, where should you be? Well, I don't know where I should be. Oh, it's such a dilemma. I hear you. So let's look back for a moment to move forward. And this is an important part. I want you to, for a moment, celebrate right now how far you actually have come, because the stressed mind won't let us see this and what you have already moved through in your life. You've moved through tricky relationships. Am I right? Your own childhood stress, getting up sometimes when you don't want to, and breathing through the day when you don't feel like it. You'd rather stay in bed. Facing a very changing world, particularly in the world for women. Perhaps a career, family, friends. Friends can be so supportive and wonderful, and friends can also be tricky, right? And all with this juggling act with the outside societal pressure to do it all and to look like it's easy, right? And I think that's almost a quote from Brené Brown, to do all these things, to juggle all these things and then present yourself as if it's easy. And inside, perhaps feeling I don't know enough, I'm not healthy enough, I'm not thin enough, I'm not young enough, I'm not whatever enough. And I love this picture of it's a Japanese type of pottery called kintsugi, and how they repair in this type of pottery, how they put things back together when they've fallen apart, is they mend them with gold. And I can promise you that moving forward, that your scars, your pains, your experiences, your so-called failures, those are your gold. Those are your gold. And they are in the old definition of wisdom. That's where wisdom comes from the cracks. Not by avoiding them and pretending that everything's okay, which we've been very trained to do, but by actually embracing those cracks and filling them with gold. And I know that if you're here, you already have plenty of superpowers. So don't let anyone tell you that you don't. They might just not show up on the outside, like perseverance, determination, compassion, compassion for yourself and other people, wonder. Like there was something that you wondered about coming here, yearning and your desires. Your desires are important and you are worthy of them all. See, I get really fired up about this. So here's the thing that most people don't know, and I don't know if I've heard how many people here, how many ladies here like to read Brené Brown? How many people does it resonate with? Anyone here? Yeah. Okay, a couple yeah, thumbs up. Yeah. Right on. High five. So the thing that I don't hear Brené Brown talking about, and I've got all her books. I love her stuff, and she opened up a whole area that of shame. And one of the characteristics of shame is it gets hidden. It's buried because it's painful and it's shameful. Um, but the one that I don't hear her talk about that much is how much shame and fear is actually inherited intergenerational trauma. And I'm going to jump right into this. You can see I'm going right for the points that I want you to take away today. Why is this important? Because often what we're trying to overcome or heal or get over or whatever it might be, whatever the terminology is that you use, has been inherited. And up to 80% of what we have. And this is nobody's fault. It's the way things have gone for a few thousand years. So you are not to blame for that, but it's really important to be aware of it because it's a process of letting go of what was never yours to begin with. And now that leaves you with the possibility of taking 100% responsibility in this moment you find yourself in to choose now differently. I do not know one woman, whether friends, clients, or anyone else, who was told, or mothers, or grandmothers, or great grandmothers, who was told when they were born, you can be as loud as you want, you can be as free spirited as you want, you can be everything that you came here to be, darling, and you go out and you follow your desires. I've never met one woman, including myself. In fact, we may, unless we're very lucky, we may have been told the opposite, that you're too much, or you're too this or too that, or not enough of this, and sit down and be quiet and maybe look after other people, and we get very socialized this way. And this is why, again, yeah, too sensitive. How many of us? I'm a super sensitive nervous system, which is why I love my work, which is also why I need to really pace myself. I found out the hard way. Um, too much of something or not enough of something else. And I'm going to pull this all together at the end as to why midlife is such a wonderful time to say goodbye to that. And mindset, changing your mindset, although powerful, it doesn't heal intergenerational trauma. It's impossible because it's handed down to you through your DNA. And that can be reversed. I don't want you to think that there's no point. You won't find a lot of validation in the external world for the beautiful, wise soul that is emerging from you in midlife. And there's many myths around that. You'll find them everywhere that, people not expressing their age, or I've been telling people that I'm 58, and I'm pretty sure that I'm actually 57. So I don't know. I just thought it was funny this morning when I was thinking my age. I keep on thinking I'm 58, but I'll be 58 this year. And but there's this thing around this number that, like, don't tell people how old you are, which when you think about it, is kind of strange because I've lived here for 57 years. And why is that right or wrong or anything? And I mean, there's a whole industry built on you feeling not enough. So you, my friends, and I, when we start shifting and changing, do you know how powerful that is? The ripple effect will start happening, and we're going to actually take down industries. But that's not your goal here. but the beauty industry, the health and fitness, and some of that I love. I started taking protein every morning because my boys were telling me to, and it's changed a lot of things. So, pick and choose what you tend to believe, what is a myth and what isn't. The other myth is that older women in this society are somehow less valuable, are worth less money, paying money, or I mean, you just have to look out or watch the news to see what's happening to know that that's true, to know that that's happening. It's not actually true. And this type of oppression, this is the last point I'm going to make about this. Every woman on this earth has felt it. And that is why it is so hard for you to, whatever you're telling yourself, to speak up, to, to speak your truth, to be seen, to become visible, to be strong, to be confident, because your nervous system sees what has happened a lot of the time to women when they do that. There are exceptions, many of them, more and more and more and more all the time. And I want you to be an exception to that. There's Oprah is the shit she had to move through to get to where she is, unbelievable. So it is possible. And watch those examples. But know that if you're not them, there's nothing wrong with you. Your nervous system is just saying to you, we're not doing that. We see what happens when women step out of the crowd. All right, so let's just have some compassion and understanding for ourselves in that. This is a really important piece that can take away the blame and the shame from yourself. There's nothing wrong with you if you're not feeling where you're where you feel you should be. This is changing. You can see it. Structures around us are falling. And we, following these small steps, will be rising and reclaiming as women our space in society as the powerful and experienced ones that come. I mean, if any of you that are here, Mandy or Nicole or Annie or Deanna, if you were running the world, I would bet my bet is that there would be a lot less war. My bet is that it would be different things would be valued. So don't undermine your experience and your wisdom, because there was a time, there's ample evidence where the wise woman was the one that was revered in society. But this is the conflict. You were meant for more because you are. If you weren't, there wouldn't be any conflict, right? So you have that seed of knowing. All right. I have to stick to my slides. Two things I have noticed that seem to get in the way. One is the stuck emotions, grief that we all have, and trauma, whether it's, a big T trauma, if you've been unfortunate enough to experience that in your life, or the small things that did or did not happen, the not being seen or the not being validated, or maybe younger, your parents divorced and it was difficult because nobody talked about emotions back then. Maybe you never learned, like 99.9% of us, how to feel and express our emotions as children, right? What does Marianne say? Yes, exactly. And then they were feared because of their power. This is the power that you have within you. And I'm not just saying this because I feel like making people feel better. I know this. This has been my passion that I've been researching for years now. And when I look back, probably my whole life, that those very people, whether you want to look at the witch hunt trials or so many other situations, where the wise women were the ones that started to become feared because they were so powerful in a different way. I'm not talking guns and physical strength, but for their intuition, their knowing, their connection with the earth, with Mother Earth, with natural ways of healing. Um, and that being said, I am part of the medical system and I use it. Like, never say, I use it for various things, saved my kids' lives a number of times. So I'm grateful. Um, but yeah, so sometimes we don't even know what is there that's holding us back. But all you know that is that you feel tight and uneasy in yourself, maybe even in your own skin. And that's what I learned when everything around me stopped. I was like, oh man, what? Geez, feel uncomfortable just sitting here. So we learn patterns. We learn patterns for survival, for safety, and that has caused disconnection from our true self. And look up any of Dr. Gabor Mate's videos recently as he promotes his new book, The Myth of Normal. And you'll see this message again and again and again, that we have to choose our attachment to our peers as teenagers, to our family, to the people around us, because we're human and we connect. We have to choose that over our own authenticity in many different ways. And so we learn to abandon ourselves as young girls. We learn to step out of our bodies and and fit in with the crowd, because to not fit in is devastating. It's devastating. Or I should say, it can feel that way. So this is what it often feels like. Something feels missing, or I feel stuck. And I want to just tell you about three women to give you different examples. So I'm going to use obviously not real names. Karen was a highly successful accountant, a CEO of her own firm. By all accounts, she was successful. But inside, she was tired. She was bored. She also had a lot of physical symptoms. She felt she had done all the things, but she was still missing something. She had done all the things that society validated, but what was missing was her allowing herself to be herself, which over time, as she noted her perfectionism and started giving up those patterns, it was kind of a scary process, because those are the things we've been hanging on to, that's literally gripping onto for dear life. She had done all those things, and now it was time for her to be her, that in the end was much easier. Much easier. Someone I'll call Maureen, single parent of 2 young adults, and who is here in that sandwich generation, caring for young people, caring for aging parents, financially struggling because she was spending all her time giving to other people. She had a difficult boss she had to cater to, and basically no time or energy for herself. And she was wanting a new lease on her life. She was caught in the pattern of people pleasing. And I wish there was a better name. If anybody has a better name than people pleasing, I don't like that name for some reason, but I can't think of a better one. Just like giving yourself away to other people, abandoning your own needs for the sake of other people's needs. There is no judgment here. There is nothing wrong with that or with you. It's what we learn. No, that's what it is. It is that. Yeah. Maybe I just need to settle into that. Others before self, putting others, yeah, pleasing other people before yourself. Meeting other people's needs, we've learned very well, before meeting your own needs. And that journey of coming back to yourself can bring up all kinds of these thoughts of, it's selfish, you're self-centered, who do you think you are? You're too big for your britches, these kinds of, internal dialogue that prevents us from coming back to ourselves. And then the last one I'll just talk about, we'll call Joan, was never married, but also if you find yourself afraid to break out of your own routine because she was afraid of what other people would think. And those other people, when we looked at it, who were they? Who were these other people? Who are they? Who are they? it turned out to be one family member, one friend that she was worried about. And she was basing her life around the opinions of these two people. She was very sensitive to criticism that she's done something wrong. And if that's an old childhood trauma, that you are to blame, you've done something wrong. But she sat at her desk at work, looking out the window, dreaming. Her pattern was personalizing. These are the three P's. And please, if you see yourself in one of them or but often they come as a package, give yourself a high five because you've already identified these false patterns that are getting in the way. Yes. Um, I saw clapping go like clap, high five. Um, that are getting in the way that feel life threatening to move through, but they're not. Because at midlife, you are safe to move through these patterns. If you're here, you've got a computer, you're in a safe space, tells me already that you've got so much going for you in the safety department that you can do this. They were stuck, old, outdated patterns, but they feel real and they feel they can feel life threatening because at one point in your life, you had to adjust to your parents because they were looking after you or whoever it might be. All right, we're moving through a lot of stuff here. So they were all stuck in this external world to avoid fear and shame that they felt in their body that was old, stuck emotions in your body. And, it's funny. Sometimes when I say that, I get this kind of just noticing your body, if anything came up for you as I just said that, because you'll know. Remember, you're a wise woman. Your body is giving you messages all the time. She is speaking to you in this moment. I got a little twinge in my shoulder, and I've become attuned to noticing these things when there's something there for me to look at. Or it could be just an old pattern, right? That's showing up. What will others think? Will others be okay if I change? And what is out there for me in the unknown? What's out there for me? So if you feel any anxiety or worry around that, can you reframe that right now to excitement? Because it shows up in your body in the exact same way. And we often misinterpret because worry will always take precedence over excitement because everything inside of you that's being trained wants you to stay small because your body is afraid of you moving out into the unknown. Like just stay safe. We're okay here. But you're not okay here because you've got so much more to give. So take a look back on this. You might watch the recording and journal. What are your conditioned fears about evolving from the caterpillar who stays in the gooey, stucky mess for a long time until one day she blooms and she's out of there and she's beautiful. But we forget that she spent a long time in the cocoon. And when I look at my life and the life of other women's lives that I work with, I would say we have been preparing in the cocoon for years and years, if not decades, for this final bloom, this final blossom. So you're not too late. No, you're not behind. You don't have to catch up. You are in the exact right timing. And journal to yourself. If you could do anything, what would it be? And allow yourself, as Einstein said, imagination is like a gateway because when you allow yourself to get into that part of your brain of just imagining outside of the cage that we are in, what would it be like if the door was already open? What if you could walk through that door tomorrow? And I'm not saying leave your whole family and your job, but what if you could? What would it look like? What would you be doing? How would you be moving? And allow yourself to go into that part of the brain where all magic and miracles happen. Because it's time. And the truth is that we do have far more choice than we ever think we do. We have a choice to put on the news or not. Not one's not right, one's not wrong. How many choices have you made already today? What socks to put on, what to drink, what clothes to wear, what to do before you got on here. You made the choice to come here. How to sit, how to interact with the people around you. You've already made hundreds of choices this morning without even realizing it. And it's the small everyday choices that are going to make the biggest shifts in the long run because, Nike says just go do it, get out there, girl, do your thing. Well, you can only move at the rate of safety in your nervous system. So there might come a day where your caterpillar decides to just get the heck out, but more often than not, it's if we get out too soon, or if we make the shifts too soon, sound like we're all in jail here. If you make the shifts too soon, you can get scared and retreat. How many of you have done that? Have said, okay, I'm just going to do this thing. I'm just going to say this at the dinner table, or I'm just going to say this to my boss. And then we jump in and do it from a fear-based place. And then we regret it afterwards. Yeah, kind of are or have been. Absolutely, Nicole. Yeah, absolutely. We kind of are. And when you start noticing all the ways that we've bought into the jail or bought into captivity, if you want to read what Glennon Doyle's book, Untamed, gives you a better sense. You can see that the door is open, but, big but, you can only move at the rate of safety in your own nervous system because we don't want to send you into a panic attack or a flare up of chronic pain or so much shame that you retreat to your bed for 3 days. You know what I mean? I know that you can do this, by the way. I'm not saying that you can't at all. Some of you might be like busting out of jail right now. Jailbreak moments. So let's be aware of the fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. And if you've been told to just go do it, don't be so silly or whatever, it's sometimes not as simple. And it's not a case of just change your thoughts, change your life, although that can help because fear and shame exist in our body from the neck down. And we have often been disconnected and look at our body that's something that needs to be controlled or manipulated or made healthy or not, or whatever it might be. But it's a case of embracing, excuse me, all parts of you in the moment so you can slowly shift towards what you desire, not what your neighbor thinks you should desire. And your desires will be very different. Everybody's desires. Resistance, complaining, and blaming actually leave you with no power. They leave you with no power. And we've been trained to resist. The antidote is presence and being present to your beautiful self. Sounds easy, doesn't it? Let me say, we can no longer afford to abandon ourselves. At midlife, it's finally safe to come back home. It's not out there. You've found that out already. Darling, it is safe to be you, finally. Because all our ways to escape pain, they worked in the past. It's what's creating more pain. So where do you feel stuck? Notice where you feel stuck. I just want to read this for a minute. Learn a new one I never heard this weekend. I totally do it. Flop. Doing what you are told without protest to get through a problem. Doing what you are told without protest. A new fight, flight, freeze, fawn, and flop. Interesting. Yeah, so the fawn, I didn't quite explain that. It's a new F. The fawn part was the people pleasing. And now we've got flop, which what I would call, what I'm understanding, Lisa, is the ease and appease, doing what you're told to get through a problem. Aha. Okay, thank you. Now we've got 5 F's to be aware of. Oh, I just said another little F under my under my breath. That's a lot of F's. Keep that in mind. What are you doing? Fight, flight, freeze, fawn, or flopping? There's no judgment here, because once you can realize your pattern, it's like high five. The moment you accept this, you open to love and power in that moment. So I'll give you an example. Everything that we resist is an opportunity. Everything that we resist is an opportunity to access your own power and the power of love. So this morning, I'm getting ready, and I asked my younger son to do a chore. He's still on holiday. I get some protest, right? I get, yeah, everything you resist persists. I get some protest. So there's a big part of me that comes in my mind that's going, frustration, resistance to that protest. After all we give you, how can you? On and on and on. You know the stories. Pause, breathe, opportunity for love. Where's my power? Where is my choice? Take 2 breaths out, 3 maybe. I come back in with a loving boundary, with a very clear statement that doesn't induce guilt. It's just really clear. Do I do that all the time? No, but I'm aware that it's a choice. Notice your patterns. How do they feel in your body? No judgment. And sometimes we can just there was one of those women I told you about earlier. We worked through just changing her posture from protective, fear-based, shame, eyes down, slowly feeling comfortable to open and expand and actually take up her space, energetically and physically take up her own space. That was huge. It was such a big move. So notice how you're holding yourself. Start to move and breathe in the opposite direction. Instead of going into judgment, in other words, what did I do wrong? Who's to blame? What have I done here? What have I not healed? What am I not getting right? Which is the victim. To, I wonder where the gift of love and magic and miracles exist right here. Because you are the empowered, I'm sounding like a preacher. I'm even pointing my finger. Sorry. You are the empowered creator, the master of your own life right now in this moment. You don't have to get this right, because there's no getting it right. You don't have to get it perfect, because there is no perfect. It doesn't exist. There's only you. And you are enough. But you can move from that victim, what have I done? What should I fix? What should I appease? Who should I please? To, I wonder where I can step into my own power, into love. And that, that can take a few breaths. I'll tell you that much. It's not out there. It's not out there in your job, in your relationships, in your people. It starts from here. And be open to this miracle that happens when you start becoming present, becoming aware. And that might mean for you giving up some patterns, giving up some addictions, addiction to patterns. You will start, this is not the reason you're doing it, ladies. You will start to see the people around you start to pop and start healing themselves. But that's not the reason we're doing it. We're doing it for us. Because when I went into this last holiday season, my old brain was like, that person, in-laws, who's happy? What do they want to eat? Who else here does that, especially in family gatherings? And and stop effing around. Well, right, ladies, we're going to stop effing around here. Or we'll just use that fight, flight, freeze when we need it to jump out of the way of traffic, or when a grizzly bear is coming to attack us, then we will absolutely call on our fight, flight, freeze. But aside from that, um, and that's the difference between knowing what's real and life threatening and what is an old, outdated fear. So coming back home to your body, especially, not just, your nose because you like it, or your fingers, your hands because you like them, but especially the parts that have been rejected. You owe that much to yourself. Every wrinkle you have, every stretch mark, everything has earned its time to be here. And you think about it, it's only the outside world that tells you that there's actually some value or not value placed on it. When you start to see the truth of things, it becomes kind of ridiculous. Come back home again to your desires and your dreams. You had them and you can find them again. Come back home to all that triggers you, because your triggers are going to be your greatest teachers. So we're going to slowly move, and you might do this with a therapist, you might do it with a support person, to move towards those parts that make you feel small and contracted. Oh, coming back to your own breath and owning your own breath, because you are here for all of this, not just the good parts, but for all of it. And you can manage all of it. And when you start living in the present moment, then the miracles can find you. And I use that term miracles, meaning unexpected surprises that can happen every day when you stop expecting the past. So if I think, oh, he's always like that, he's going to say that as soon as he comes in, and that's just what he does. That is going to happen because I'll find it. I will find what I'm looking for. But if you can open up to a billion different things that can happen today, when you are open to the billion possibilities that could happen, it's true. And then letting go of it, letting go, not searching, because they will find you. They will find you. You will be like a magnet to receive them. You can begin to become, pure potential, which is what you are. You are so much more than what you have ever been told so far in however many years you've been here on this planet. And I don't say this lightly. I say this from working through trauma for many decades. So I'm not just coming in here today to tell you that you should just be your pure potential. I know what it takes to go through the layers, but it does have to start with opening in your mind, your body, and your breath. So I just want to acknowledge that we are getting up to the hour, and I can see that I'm going to go about 10 minutes over time. Apologize for that. And if you have to jump away, I totally understand. It's all being recorded. I hope you can stay with me though. I just don't want to have to cram it in, because I want you to really, I really want you to get this part, because now we're getting to the really, really exciting stuff. Now that we've talked about all the reasons out there, back in the past and present, why this might be happening, we can move into right now. Right now. Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath in. Just feel your feet, feel your seat, and feel the space of this moment. It's the only moment that exists right here. And this moment is full of possibilities and pure potential. Your mind will keep you safe, going back to, expecting the past, because it's based on fear. But now you can choose to move from fear into the energy of love. And what that means is not the Hallmark card love. What that means is loving everything that got you to this point. I want to change that. Accepting everything that got you to this point. You don't have to love it. You don't have to like it. It's parts of my life that I don't really love, right? And I don't have to force myself to, oh, I'm not being a good person if I don't love that person. No, no, no. But you can accept them. Others people's paths are not your path, right? Notice and observe the space around you. Look at everything that you have chosen. You have chosen. I chose this candle, this rock, this table, and take in something that you've never really seen before. Let's give your brain some novelty because brains love novelty that you've never really looked at closely before. I've got this piece of pink agate, and honestly, every time I look at it, I see something new. There is a new possibility in every moment of your day coming out of your mind of what's, the dirt in the corner that I should have cleaned up yesterday and coming into your body. What do you feel like right now? And I wonder, moving to the place of wonder, what new possibilities might come my way today that I never would have expected? So when I go pick up, say, for example, my coffee, um, and there's that grumpy barista behind the counter, I'm going to expect that. Oh, that was the grumpy one. But what if I look at them as a human in this moment who has their own burdens? What could that possibly open up for them when I'm not expecting the past? And what if you lived a life beyond your fears? What if? What if you knew you could walk out that door and yes, you might get hit by a car. Nobody can, I'm not going to say that that won't happen. Chances are small. But what if you committed to a life beyond your fears? So noticing your fear, because they're going to come up, there's nothing wrong with that, but knowing that you're beyond that. Midlife is the perfect time to let go of what you've learned, how to fit in, how to be accepted and survive, and to move to embrace to who you are because it is your weirdness, your quirkiness, it's your uniqueness, your bizarreness, your weird sense of humor, your stuff that makes you different is who you're here to be. And all of your experiences maybe have led you to be exactly right here. Well, they have. Maybe there's nothing wrong with you. And maybe there's so much more right with you. Maybe those cracks are what you need to move towards because they're your gold. Maybe the best part of your life is right now, no matter what your circumstances are. Maybe in accepting them, you can start to work with them to be the highest expression of yourself. Maybe nothing has been wasted. All your cracks, pain, and all your traumas, maybe they are your gold. And I don't for one moment mean that they were okay or that you need to forgive or um, that everything you've gone through has been, you know, great or, I don't minimize um, pain or trauma. But if we continue to resist it and judge it, it does tend to persist because there's no wiggle room. That barista is going to continue to be grumpy for as long. He might surprise me one day, but if I expect that, he's probably going to behave that way. It's the same thing. Maybe you can become the master of your own life at midlife. And that might mean the master of how you make your next cup of tea, because all we have is this moment. That's all we have is that cup of tea. Everything else is just going to follow. You deserve it. You are worth it. And your life is worth everything because it's your life. So I'm going to take a deep breath and ask you, could this be the time in your life? Could it be the time where you start to come out of the gooey muck of the caterpillar, of the, what's it called? The cocoon, and start peeking out into the sunshine and actually shed some skin and layers and become the butterfly and open start to open your wings. And you can even do this right now in your body. If you find yourself really focused forward, we've learned to put our minds, our head forward. Maybe just sit back, open your wings right now and take up your space. Because every time we do that and we look around, we send a message through our vagus nerve to our brain saying, wow, this organism that I'm in here right now is actually safe. And it's safe for me to fly. It's safe for me to dance. It's safe for me to sing. It's safe for me to to paint, and it's safe for me to move towards my desires, and it's safe for me um, to have my favorite cup of tea, or it's safe for me to write that letter. And as we start building that muscle, it is building a muscle that we start to exercise more and more and more until our intentions become our habits. Our intentions to fly, to our intentions to get up early or feed ourselves well, to do things that feel good. Those intentions then start to become our habits. I just want to see, kind of, oh yeah, swap. A new diagnosis, trying to understand an emotional reaction I was having. Yes, okay. CPTSD and chronic pain. I get it. Yeah, I think that's a very valuable piece of information. Is that for us to notice that it kind of goes beyond people pleasing, doesn't it? Of just ease and appease to move through it, even though you don't want to do it. And that does sound like a childhood pattern, right? So many of us, we just had to do it, right? Especially under great stress and even trauma, that you learn. You are all super intelligent, sensitive, and aware women here. That I know, because you were very perceptive to what needed to be done for you or other people. Yay, wings are beginning to open. I feel it, trying to learn how to fly. Acceptance of emotions is a huge part of this, Lisa. Huge. I'm pretty sure it's an essential key. What is needed on this journey? Really, joining things like this, and joining with other women in community, because women gathering in communities has been one of the biggest threats to the planet, right? Because stuff starts to happen, we start to talk and we're like, hey, this happened to me too, let's join, right? And we have been it has been a society of divide and conquer. And what that means is separating women from each other, because when we gather, our power is exponential. Let's face it. Look what they're doing in Iran. I mean, nothing shakes the Taliban, or sorry, I don't know who, that's not who's running the country, but nothing shakes the government like a group of women protesting. Bless their courage. Yes, I'm decided I'm not going to change because someone thinks that I should. I love that, Pat. So this support continual redirection until your intentions become habit, effective tools beyond mindset for healing and integration. A safe person or person place to turn to could be nature, it could be trees, it could be your best friend. Women need community. And I don't mean that you need to have lots of friends and socializing. Sometimes it can be an online community. It can be your next door neighbor, a clear path for healing, a North Star, so you actually know where you're headed. So, yeah, we're just about done here. I'm going to skip ahead for a moment and just say, like, you have everything you need in you to fly, everything you need. And maybe it is what you're needing is the support and the path and the clear path. So I'm going to move back here for a moment, because I do want to take this time just to, yeah, I'm so glad everyone's here. I want to take this time to tell you about a course that is starting this month. There's various opportunities. A lot of you have been reaching out and asking how to work with me, and I have different opportunities available depending on what you need and what fits for you, and also what you're up for this year. So right now, I'm going to tell you about transformational breath work. Some of you have been in some of my in my classes, can release blocks in the body. And the part I didn't tell you about earlier was that throughout all of this time during COVID, on and on, I happened to discover transformational breath work. I have developed my own method of breath work because when I experienced it myself, I was like, what the heck? How did nobody tell me about this before? How did I not know this? Living and breathing the trauma field for basically 3 decades. I do something called womb transformational breath work, and it is a rebirthing from the inside out, which is really, if you think about it, the only way that it can happen. Can't happen out there. So I'm starting an 8-week course called Rebirth of the Wise Woman. It's an 8-week course of breath work and coaching, and we're starting up on January 25th. It's a journey with coaching that combines coaching and breath work because we cannot just stay in the mind anymore. It's the body that's crying out. It's the body that's wanting to be seen and held and loved and witnessed and healed to help you move through stuck blocks, old patterns, and beliefs to become the leader of your own life at midlife. You've maybe got the time now. Maybe you've got the knowledge, you've got the understanding, and you absolutely have the wisdom. We have to uncover what gets in the way to clear out old fears so you become more confident, at ease, and peace in your natural state. And most of all, to discover who you truly are. She's here, by the way. She's not out there. She's waiting for you to let go of who we thought we were or who we were told we are. So I want to just tell anyone who's interested about what the path looks like. And these are the sessions we'll be running through. I can send you more information after. Reach out. And if you are already in one-on-one coaching with me, if you've already got a package of coaching with me, if we're already going, you have access to this course. So just want you to know that. The other thing that I'm adding in for this group in this course is some of you have been through my Fear to Freedom, because I was trying to think of what would accompany this, but what would be the perfect match. And Fear to Freedom, I believe, is the perfect match so that you have regular tools as well as the big meetings, each week, the big breathwork journeys to go to every day. That's Fear to Freedom. So you can look at this we're covering the big areas: emotions, visibility, voice, integration session, embodiment. So moving through body shame, money. Money is one of the most loaded topics for women. We have not had direct access to our own money. It's a difficult relationship. And the only way you can determine if it's a difficult relationship for you is to look at your bank account or see how you feel about money. If you hoard or if you give away, it's something we don't talk about a lot. So I'm giving you my email here if you are interested. I will follow up. I'm going to follow up with the course outline, and I'll send that to you if it is something that you are interested in taking the plunge with this year. And the meetings. I'll actually give you the link right here. The meetings are going to be Wednesdays at 1:00. The cost for the 8 weeks plus Fear to Freedom is a 1111 because it's a magic number, 1,111. And with that, oops, why is it not? Okay, I just want to put the link in right here. It's not going in. Okay. Nope, it doesn't want it. Doesn't want to paste in. I can send it to you later. And let's just stop the share. So those for me are the big topics to move through in midlife. So as we come to the thank you for staying with me, beautiful women. Oh my goodness, I see I know myself well. I know how I roll, and maybe I should just give up the expectation in myself of making it into 1 hour. Maybe I should make it an hour and 15 minutes and be a little bit less hard on myself. Um, if you feel inclined to jump on this journey with me, I would love to work with you. And I will include in the email other ways that you can work with me less intensely or more intensely, because I've really given over my this year to help as many women rebirth through this old, and I'll use the word, this old patriarchal system that is now coming forth. It is our time, and it really is. As you move slowly towards your own desires, that might be, even today, start the most radical act that you can do. Sounds, if it sounds silly, I'm here to tell you that um, a woman that is in touch with her own desires becomes one of the most powerful people on the planet. And why is that? Because the status quo knows that that's when things start really shifting and changing. And that's when we start demanding that things be different. And I'll just add one more caveat that patriarchy has absolutely affected men in a very different way. And I really appreciate that, not being able for them not being able to be in touch and show their emotions. It's a tragedy. But this is my experience. And as a woman, I'm dedicated to working with other women simply because it's been my own experience on this planet. So take a deep breath in, allow yourself, give yourself a little hug, a little pat, and just even bringing in some of that touch, some of that oxytocin, accessing your own inner medicine cabinet that is within you. You have so much power within you. You have so much of your own medicine within you. And I hope that you find that you find your own creator. And from this, maybe from this day forward, bringing in that question of how do I find my power, my presence, and my creator in this moment to access all the magic and miracles that are just there waiting for you. All right, I will say goodbye. Yes, womb breath work. That is what I do. That is what I do, Nicole. It's grateful to have you along in the journey. And in my experience, we need to descend into ourselves in order to ascend into the world. And I will leave you there, ladies. Have a wonderful day. Thanks for joining, and hope to see you soon. Bye for now.